Alright, hello everyone. So today we'll be talking about the G36 banner and stuff on whether or not she's worthwhile to pull, what weapons to give her, and so on and so forth. So important stuff, if she is your waifu, if you want to use her for dom poses, if you want to pull her for fun, then feel free to go ahead and do so because this game is ultimately a waifu collector. I know some people who played, I think, the Neural Cloud game. She's your adjutant. I don't know if I pronounced that correctly, but she's your aide in Neural Cloud, so you get to see her a lot in that game, which is why you might like her a lot more compared to a lot of us, right? So if you like her for that reason, go ahead and get her instead, right? Because this game, the only real end game we have is PvP or Gunsmoke, and if you don't really care about that, then yeah, doesn't really matter. Okay, pull or not to pull for Centaureissi and Ulrit. Ulrit is going to be still quite useless in terms of just doing anything. She is not going to be very useful except for going to objectives, but even then we also have Diane, so like really do we even need Ulrit? So at this point Ulrit, yeah, you can just skip this banner totally. Centaureissi is going to be a heat recovery dispenser. She gives everyone regen basically. She shits it out like non-stop. I'll show you all of the stuff that she can do with the dispensing of the heat recovery, but she's basically a more defensive Ksenia in that regard until you get vertebrae 1, and then once you get vertebrae 1, she can also dispense very powerful buffs, damage increase, and I think damage boost, right, to all of her allies. A lot of other stuff here, and she's also basically hard locked to the burn team. That's why Shakri and Krolik are on her banner, because if you want to make a budget burn team, this will be the options that you can go and pick up to try and finish up that burn team over there, right? So moving on to the next part here, there's going to be a Lotta outfit. If you like that, feel free to go and pull it. But now let's talk about tier list stuff. Alright, tier list stuff over here is that Centaureissi is considered a tier 2 over here and also a tier 2 over here. So why is she considered so low is because there are two demon queens that basically invalidate her existence, which is called Suomi and it's called Springfield. What Centaureissi provides is a global heal that also cleanses debuffs. Guess what the other two also do? One is provide a shield, a global heal, not global heal, a 6 tile heal with action supports and stability breaks and ice tiles also. So Suomi is just ridiculously busted with a lot of things inside of her, and Springfield just basically doubles your health bar, full heals you, and heals based on that health, gives action support, has extra turns, gives turbid damage, like whatever the hell you want, you just use your Springfield. So she has everything a healer could want in this game, just buffing the shit out of your damage. What does Centaureissi do? She cleanses debuffs and gives a bit of action support. And until you get vertebrae 1, she does not even give a damage buff. So yeah, that's that for Centaureissi. She doesn't really perform as good as all these other high level characters up here. Right. So the team comp that she is locked in is going to be Burn. And even then, you can use Ksenia. Even then, you can use Suomi. So yeah. The thing about Ksenia versus Centaureissi, right, is that if you get high vertebrae on Ksenia, she can maintain Blazing Assault buffs on a lot of your teammates. I think up to 3 members of your team can have the Blazing Assault buff. It is very powerful. So having all of these extra buffs instead of having a super defensive cleanse character that makes you regen is going to be a lot more worth it in a lot of the content in this game, because if you kill the enemy, then there's nothing to tank, correct? If I need to tank, I use my Suomi, I use my Sabrina in case of certain bosses. So yeah, I don't really need to have this Giga healer that cleanses everything. I need a character that can provide so much defensive ability that I can just face tank like Suomi, or I need a character that can help regen my stability like Suomi, or I need a character that just gives me so much damage buff that I can just do whatever I want, Springfield, right? So Centaureissi just doesn't fit into any of these except the super defensive character that cleanses you but heals you based on your current health, not doubles your health and then heals you based on the improved health. So in terms of healers, if you just want to make 2 teams, right, Suomi and Springfield, done. Right? Or you can even use Ksenia if there happens to be a 3rd team required. Yeah, like there's not really a space for Centaureissi to fill. She kind of fulfills the same role as the Ksenia. And the only thing she does better than Ksenia is that she can heal way better with her ultimate. But even then, her ult has a very big CG amount, and her regen of CG is going to be very bad until she gets her mod key later on, which I'll talk about right now. Her mod key, what it does is that it gives her additional CG whenever she does action support, which is very important because she does not regenerate it by default. So it's going to be very long before you can actually ult again. It's not like Suomi. Suomi legit has a passive that gives her CG, but then they give Centaureissi the mod key to give her the passive instead. So we have to wait until this key comes out, then she becomes a lot more comfortable to use. Other than that, she's going to be very sus to use before then. Other than that, her regular keys is all about cleanse, give a powerful buff when you apply hit recovery, and her common key is straight up, if you are next to me, I will give you hit recovery. So yeah, this character really shits out hit recoveries, but ultimately, if you need that, just use a Suomi. Right, Somi already, I use 4 people face tank, and then she gets CG2, then she can ult again, and then she can provide ice for slowing or for Macchiato to do more damage. So yeah, Centaureissi is not it. The V1, however, gives her Flame Assault 2 and damage increase 2 whenever she does her action support, so that is very, very nice. But then Ksenia also does that. By default, I'm pretty sure, yeah. By default, she already like, oh, when someone else shoots, I will do a support attack, and then I give them a Flaming Assault buff. There you go, right? Blazing Assault buff, yeah. So that is the difference between Ksenia, Centaureissi, and all of the other best healers here. Is why she's not considered a very, very good healer compared to the rest, because the others are just so damn stacked compared to Centaureissi. Alright, if you do want to continue pulling for her, then you can go ahead and get Mate Standard, which is going to be her best in slot, is her signature weapon. It's going to increase her healing and also help her to recover her stability to allies. Guerno is also not bad, it also provides healing bonus, and Golden Melody, this one should go to Cheongju. I don't know why you are putting it on your mate, but if you do want to give her a decent one, Golden Melody is not bad. Right. So the amount of rolls needed to get the V1, as you can see here, is 226 at 90% chance, unless you are lucky and you believe yourself to be so lucky that you will hit the 50-50 immediately, and then after that you hit another 50-50 immediately. Then you can go ahead and just do that, right? But most of us are going to end up here. I'm very sorry to say. The 90% is probably where we are going to hit. We're probably going to get spooked by someone, and then after that, we will have to just go and pull all the way until the 100% chance to get the character. So just don't think of yourself as super lucky, and just assume that you will be an unlucky guy in order to prevent yourself from suffering, right? Anyway, the vertebrae for this character here is going to cost quite a bit. Right, because you need to pull her copy, you need to pull this, and if you want to get her weapon because meat, then you can also need to add additional pulls to this thing here. So generally, I would not recommend getting Centaureissi at all. In fact, I think she is a skip banner because Springfield V1 is going to be very important. R1 also is quite important. You need to get the weapon. R is for the weapon, V is for the character. Okay, so Klukai HK416 is finally coming to our server. How do I know this? That's because there has been a lot of reverse Morse coding for this thing over here. I think it was a cipher, so they had to use a 10 minus as a super tetrahedron or something. I can't remember the term that they use, which is just subtracting. You just take 10 minus 4, 10 minus something, and then you get the answer 416. So that's how they're able to get the answer that Klukai is coming. And also we have Korean leaks, so Klukai is pretty much guaranteed after the Centaureissi. So I am pretty much going to highly recommend skipping the Centaureissi banner, because Klukai is coming and we are going to be pulling for her for sure. Now the last thing to talk about is going to be V3 or V0, because every time I've made these videos, right, I always talk about V3 being the bare minimum for this corrosion here. And then after a while of researching, I realized that actually in the long term of this game, you don't really need the V3 at all, because what's going to happen, right, is that you're going to go into any farming content in the game, event stories, whatever, and you're going to borrow the V6 Klukai. Your V3 will not be used. Then you go to Gunsmoke Frontline, and then you go to Gunsmoke Frontline, and you borrow the V6 Klukai. And then your V3 Klukai, you won't even use it, because you can borrow V6 Klukai for both entrances, right? You can use it for the first entry, use it for the second entry, and the V6 Klukai will always be used. The V3 Klukai sit on the bench, correct? Right, and then after that, you go PvP. PvP, you can't borrow a character, so you have to use the V3 Klukai. So that's the only place you can actually really use it. And then for Abyss content, the one where you clear for 40 stars and you need to get all of the stars in order to get all of the collapse pieces, that one you can also use the Klukai. But you also don't need to use the Klukai. You can just use the Burn team, use the Hydro team, use the whatever team, and you'll still be able to clear it no matter what, right? So it really doesn't matter that much about getting a V3 Klukai, unless you really want to use in PvP. That's really the only answer here, or because you really love Klukai and you want to use her for everything, and then you just go and get your own V3 copy so you can show that you love your Klukai. Also can. Just do whatever you want, but right now I'm actually more convinced that for us F2P / low spenders that we should be getting a V0 Klukai. The reason being is that if you look at the list over here, there's a lot of stuff that we want to pick up later on in the game, such as we want to get the Tololo gun, Planeta, we want to get Golden Melody, we want to get Springfield's signature weapon later on, we also want to get Macchiato's signature weapon, and then also we need to get V1 Mark, V1 Andoris, V1 Vector, and I remember there was another V here somewhere. I think some people like V1 Suomi, but I've said it before, you don't really need to. There's a lot of Vs that you want to get in this game, correct? I didn't talk about Tololo or Cheongju because you can get them slowly with the black tickets, but basically there's just other things that are more worthwhile to get compared to getting a Klukai V3 in where most of the content that you use the Klukai in is going to be able to be borrowed, correct? Right? There's no particularly super hard content besides Gunsmoke that you need a V6 Klukai, that you need a V3 Klukai. Yeah, because you can just borrow the V6 for Gunsmoke. And then other content, the only other one that is important is going to be PvP. So really only pull your Klukai V3 if you want her to be usable in PvP. Otherwise, most of the time, you might as well borrow a V6 Klukai. And I have many whale friends which I can borrow from if I really, really wanted to. So that is why I'm more inclined now to get the V0, right? Another thing to talk about for Klukai is that if you are planning to pull her, if you're only going to V3, right, I'm not going to stop you, but if you are going to V3 only, Planeta, which is Tololo's signature weapon, is going to be better than Klukai's signature weapon, which means you don't have to pull for Klukai's weapon unless you are also going for V4 or higher already. So just remember that when you are pulling your Klukai. You can save yourself some extra gems if you just want to use her purely for the V3 and you just slap a stat stick weapon onto her, just slap Planeta onto her, you are basically done already. Okay, so that's going to be it for this entire talk here. Centaureissi skip, always skip because of HK416 coming up, and also because Centaureissi herself is not a particularly amazing healer. Alright, so that is going to be it for this entire thing. Just remember the 3 rules of Girls Frontline 2. Just collect your waifus, pull for your dom stuff, pull for your fun. Alright, don't need to pull for meta or anything because ultimately you can just borrow the V6 Klukai later on, right? Okay, so that's going to be it for this video, guys. I shall see you guys next time. Bye-bye.